What if a confidential confession that was supposed to be buried clawed its way to the surface, leaving a trail of shattered illusions and broken trust? What if the cool-headed person you thought you knew was actually fighting a tempest that threatened to destroy everything they had built? For years, Mendeecees Harris has been a steadfast pillar that seemed unaffected by the typical chaos of public life. His image was one of quiet strength, a steady presence amidst the glitz and drama. But get ready, because the curtain is about to be pulled back on a truth so explosive that it will redefine everything you thought you knew about Mendeecees. Though unverified, rumors are circulating that Mendeecees has finally said something that no one anticipated, words that allude to a covert meeting with a lady who has long tainted his life and marriage. Previously, whispers were becoming louder. Erica Mendeecees is shown confessing, "I did sleep with her, but that ain't my kid," while staring straight into a camera in the behind-the-scenes video that Mina claimed leaked. Take a moment to consider that the internet is in a tailspin. Is it true? Is it misrepresented? Or is the seismic truth hidden beneath years of hearsay? Because those 9 alleged statements went viral on social media, the fallout might destroy everything Mendeecees and Yandy have laboriously built. If even a small portion of these charges are true, get ready, because this narrative is only beginning. Was it a random remark that caught everyone off guard? A private discussion that unexpectedly slipped out of its bounds? Or a confessional that was purposefully sidelined by someone who was afraid of its impact? No one could say for sure, but the harm was already done. Yandy's silence only fueled the craze. The uncut, unvarnished scene was detailed by others who claimed to have viewed the video. According to an anonymous crew member, Mendeecees, in a dimly lit production trailer with his hands clasped, his voice steady, and his eyes betraying a complex cocktail of guilt, regret, and perhaps a strange relief, made a confession after a particularly tense off-camera exchange with Yandy. For weeks, the air had been thick with unspoken words, and everyone felt like something was about to break. But that wasn't the whole story. The real ignition point was Erica's unexpected arrival on set, even though she wasn't supposed to film. According to production sources, she demanded to speak with producers and then handed them a sealed envelope inside. The rumors of Mendeecees meeting Erica late at night off set started to circulate, and by the next morning, the entire energy on set had changed, with something real brewing. Yandy arrived for her call time but refused to enter hair and makeup, retreating to her trailer. For hours consumed by her phone, those close to her confirmed that she had already seen the online rumors and fan pages. There were allegedly DNA results, and her silence spoke volumes, suggesting that the contents would irrevocably alter everything. Posting screenshots of an envelope with close-ups of what looked to be legal DNA documents. The names were blurred, but the implication was clear. Someone was saying that Mendeecees was the father of a child Yandy didn't know about. Meanwhile, Mendeecees turned into a ghost, unresponsive and unreachable. Producers, facing a public explosion, were desperate for answers, so they set up a private sit-down with just a microphone, a locked door, and no cameras or crew. What happened inside that room has since become legendary, according to someone who claims to have heard the raw audio. The calmness of Mendeecees was chilling. Acknowledged that he had crossed a line with Erica months ago, giving no explanations, other than the straightforward admission that it had happened. However, he then said the words that would start a firestorm. "I did sleep with her, but that ain't my kid." The producer was shocked and questioned him about whether he was certain after seeing the results. Had he spoken to Erica Mendeecees? He reportedly stated that he had doubts from the start, thinking that Erica was resentful and out to harm Yandy, and that the DNA results were just a twisted plot. This is where things get even murkier. Right after that conversation, production allegedly locked away the videos, fans clipped the soundbite and added subtitles, and the internet was on fire within 48 hours of the audio, which was never intended to leave that room, starting to slip online in brief, tantalizing seconds that were enough to identify the voice. There were differing views. Some supported Mendeecees while others accused him of deflecting. Although Yandy didn't say anything, Insiders said she was crying during clothing fittings and felt deceived not just by her husband but also by the program itself. Erica, on the other hand, kept it cool by posting cryptic quotations that only served to feed the scandal. She was at the center of the most explosive scandal in the franchise. The tension reached a breaking point when production tried to resume filming with a casual dinner event, but what was supposed to be a peaceful reunion quickly turned into chaos. Erica arrived without being invited, wearing a pristine white dress and radiating an unsettling calm. The room fell silent, and Yandy looked up at her face but couldn't read it. She just stared. Erica didn't want to back down, so she walked straight to the table, sat across from her, and smiled. The silence lasted until Yandy broke it, asking, in a calm but razor-sharp Erica's desire. Erica supposedly shrugged and said she had only come to eat, but the filmmakers understood she wanted more action. She doesn't need champagne. She needs to tell the truth, Yandy said, sparking another spark. I already did. It's not my fault if some people can't handle it, Erica calmly replied. That's all it took, said Yandy Rose, not shouting but with a quiet rage. You could have told me before you told the world, she said. When the shouting started, accusations flew, old scars were torn open, and Erica looked up, still calm. I tried, but you weren't listening. The set became a battlefield, and everyone realized that Mendeecees was the reason why everything was falling apart. The fight continued after the cameras stopped rolling, and the air on set was thick with silence. Producers called an immediate wrap because they knew that nothing else could be filmed that night. And Yandy sobbed in her trailer, not from the fight, but from the crushing weight of betrayal. She had stood by Mendeecees through thick and thin when others would have run away. But this was different. This was about public humiliation. On the other hand, Erica appeared unaffected, as though a huge burden had been removed. When questioned whether she was all right, she replied, I told the truth. Whatever comes with that, I'll take it. When word of the fight spread like wildfire, fan pages posted clips, and people began to speculate. Some were taking sides, while others were questioning Erica's timing. However, the most powerful piece was that short 15-second clip of Mendeecees in a dark room, whispering, I did sleep with her, but that ain't my kid. The internet went crazy, and producers refused to verify its legitimacy, but the harm was already done. The internet had determined that it was true, and inside the production chaos, Yandy disappeared with a single message stating that she wouldn't be filming for some time. There was no explanation or time frame provided. Erica, however, was prepared for her next scene and eager to give a solo, unfiltered interview. She showed up in all black, with no outside distractions, and spoke calmly, explaining that she had tried to keep things quiet for months, giving Mendeecees every opportunity to be honest with his wife, but he kept putting it off, promising to handle it. I waited and waited and waited, she said. Then she took a folded piece of paper out of her pocket and said, This is the DNA result he asked for. He gave me a sample. He got the answer. He looked me in the face and told me he wasn't ready to tell Yandy. So I stopped waiting. Her voice cracked, not with tears, but with the weight of her burden. She said she didn't do it for TV because carrying such a secret, especially one involving a child, felt like betrayal, not only to Yandy but also to herself. The producers were left stunned and unsure of whether to air it or bury it. Then, something really unexpected happened. Yandy returned. With no cosmetics and no team, she unexpectedly entered the lot wearing a hoodie and leggings. A producer was called an hour later, and she set everything up. I'll talk, but it will be my way. I've given this man everything, and now I'm sitting here being asked to believe that he's telling me the truth after hiding something this big, she said, her tone raw in contrast to Erica's poise as she stared straight into the camera, exhausted but steady. She wasn't looking for pity. Instead, she was being honest about everything. She acknowledged having small concerns that didn't match up, but she never had evidence and never trusted him would transgress that boundary. I don't know if the child is his, she stated. I don't know what's real and what's a story being pushed. But what I do know is that I found out with the rest of the world. And that's not how a wife should find out anything. just when everything seemed to be falling into place, the crew got a message saying that Mendeecees wanted to talk on camera by herself. She didn't know what to do next, whether she could forgive him or whether their marriage would last, but she vowed to stop being silent, not for the cameras, not for appearances, and not for anyone else's comfort. No one was ready for what he was going to say, and producers were unsure whether to give him the platform at all. However, with the entire world watching, they had no choice but to let him in. He arrived, walking more slowly and heavily than he had desired. "I'll sit your role," he said. No hair, no makeup, no special lighting. The room became cooler and more solemn. Drama was no longer the focus. When the red light blinked, he started. "I know I've said things that don't line up. I know I've been quiet when I should have spoken, and I know people think that means I'm guilty. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not guilty." He admitted that he didn't believe Erica when she told me she was pregnant. Not because I thought she was lying, but because I didn't want it to be true. That's the difference. What they're saying is that he wasn't a man about it, not owning things before they blew up in everyone's face, and his eyes were sunken not from fatigue, but from sleepless nights when he wasn't performing. Denial isn't always about the other person. Sometimes it's just about fear, and I was afraid when he admitted that I mishandled things and went too far. I never, when she told me about the baby, all I could think was, what have I done? Then the part that no one saw coming came. I asked her for a test. I didn't want to accuse her of anything, but I needed to know, so she agreed without question or argument. 2 weeks later, I read the paperwork, and I was still in shock. He paused in a pregnant silence, so I took another test in secret so that no one would know, not even Yandy or the crew, but he did so casually, which only made it more chilling. I'm not saying this to protect anyone, not even myself, Erica, or Yandy. He looked smaller, as if the weight of the truth was physically shrinking him. I should have told Yandy the day I found out, before I even agreed to the first test, but I kept thinking, what if it's not true? What if I'm ruining my marriage for something that turns out to be a lie? By the time I got the answer, it was too late. I had already lied, and each day that followed only made me a bigger coward. Backstage, the crew was frozen for a long time, and he took a deep breath. I wasn't a man. Not in that moment. Not for a long time. It was rare to see someone in his position crack open so profoundly. This wasn't a calculated apology. It was a raw, naked admission. "And Yandy, if you're watching this," he said slowly, "I told myself I was protecting my family, but in reality I was just protecting myself from losing the image of who I thought I was. I put you in that situation because I asked you to wait and to hold on to something that was never yours. Even though we have a child together, I left you out there as if you meant nothing, and I regret that." He was silent for a long time. "I don't want forgiveness if it comes from pain, and I just want you to know that I loved you through it all, even when I was being dishonest." That may sound crazy, but love doesn't always come clean sometimes. It didn't matter how emotional his confession was. For some, it was too late. For others, it was the moment of revelation they had been waiting for. This wasn't scripted drama. It was real emotion, real damage, real people navigating the wreckage of one man's silence. And when word leaked about the second DNA test, social media collapsed, forcing those who had doubted Erica to reconsider everything. In the end, he stood up and left the set. Erica brought receipts that made everything different. But the real question is, do you think Mendeecees came clean because he was finally caught or out of guilt? Was Yandy right to walk away with her head held high, or should she have fought harder for her family? Was Erica brave or just brutal in her pursuit of the truth? If you want more of this unfiltered drama where secrets crack wide open and the truth hits like a slap, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Is only the beginning. The next episode might destroy the entire house. Press the button and enable your notifications so you don't miss the next explosion. The true narrative is far from over.